Friday, August 7th, Sweet Podcast, episode number 2. Carl Brewer here. We got Frank Rini in the house, Jason Ackerman, and the new addition, Jeremy Marroquin, or Marroquin,
however you want to say it, just say it.
However the fuck he says it.
You can call me whatever you want.
Marroquin, I think, is the appropriate way you should say it.
You're supposed to roll your R's, actually.
Marroquin.
But
Marroquin
reminds me of Dairy Queen. It makes me hungry.
Yeah, it kind of makes me hungry too. All right, on the menu tonight, we want to first start out talking about this delicious beer that we're drinking. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Modern Times beer. We're drinking Blazing World from San Diego, California. It is fucking amazing. Just a really good amber IPA. What do you guys think?
You know what? I like it, and they get points for presentation. I like their can. I like the colors. I like its simplicity, but also at the same time, it's complex.
Kind of retro, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like the pretty much when I saw this, I was actually down in Pasadena visiting Nicole's grandparents. We were visiting them, and then there's like this liquor store right around the corner from their house, and they just have like a fucking amazing selection of beer. And I saw this, and I was like, man, amber IPA, that sounds kind of tasty. And I just went on took a chance, fucking got it, and it was literally, I think I texted like 5 people, told them that I found the best beer I've ever drank.
Yeah. Am I fucking crazy that I'm actually thinking about Fresh Squeeze when I drink this? Is it fucking crazy that I am?
Well, Fresh Squeeze is fucking good, though.
It's good.
No, I'm not saying it's bad,
beer.
but what I'm saying is it just seems like it has that hoppiness. I don't...
Fresh Squeeze, is for those of you who don't know, that's like a Deschutes IPA. You can find it. We pick it up at Verdugo Market or Save Mart typically. I got these Modern Times at Save Mart in Bakersfield. So the Bakersfield folks that are listening, which I'm sure is like 100% of
all 8 of you.
Let's be real. Yeah.
All 8 of you.
And that's 4 of us, and there's 4 other people.
Yeah, you guys know where to go. So check it out, Modern Times. We'll be drinking that throughout the evening and maybe showcase a couple other beers as well. So.
I like how they put the hops in the back of it. Is that the weight?
What?
Yeah. So they got all of the.
And the
I don't know. They have
IBU.
They have numbers and then
it's IBU and
final
the
gravity.
and
all I know is it's fucking delicious. I don't care about any of those numbers.
That'd be cool if there was like different numbers on each one, and you get like really fucked up on these things, and then like you could say, "Hey, I have 3 aces and a pair of 8s. What do you got?" You know what I mean?
Like a card game.
Yeah, like a fucking card game, dude. Hey, we should do it.
Let's patent that.
Yeah.
Hey, anyone listening? This is copyrighted right now. So fucking
Mark,
try to steal that
don't
idea.
even try to steal that shit.
All right. Obviously, we've got a few things to talk about. I mean, goddamn, it was like a fucking godsend from the fucking MMA gods to give us some cool stuff to talk about this week. I mean, we got obviously Ronda Rousey fighting 190, UFC 190, fucking demolishing bitch Correia. Is that how you say it again?
Yeah, you say it, bitch.
Bitch.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Remember that sneaky season or something?
Bitch.
Actually, she just goes by bitch for short.
Yeah.
Everybody just goes, "Hey, bitch.
Hey, bitch.
What do you want?"
I'm not bitch. I am bitch.
You don't call me bitch. You call me a bitch. My sister a bitch.
So, obviously, Ronda Rousey dominated that fight. What do you guys think about that fight?
There's really not much to it.
Dude, she's got hands, dude.
Yeah, they looked pretty good.
She's got hands, and I think that she's just showcasing like that she has hands, and she doesn't really need her ground shit.
We talked about this last week that Jason and I kind of got into it about the game plan to beat Ronda Rousey, and obviously there's a game plan for it, but the technical ability for anyone else that's in the women's 135, it's just not out there right now. To be honest, I'm not interested in seeing Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey 3.
No, absolutely.
The
no
only
way.
fight I at this point I'm really interested in seeing is Rousey and Cyborg.
Cyborg, yep.
Cyborg, and I will say Holly Holmes could be a spoiler though. I really will. I will give her the opportunity to fucking at least lose. But I mean, she hasn't taken any damage ever from anyone.
She doesn't do that much damage in her fights either. At least the
Holmes?
UFC fights and the other leagues and the other organizations. She looked like an all-star out there,
Yeah.
tearing people up. But in the fights I've seen her in UFC, Has she had 2 fights? I think it is
She's
now?
had 2 fights. Yeah, that's right.
She looked good.
fought,
She
uses
I
the
mean,
distance.
right? But she just does not seem like
No.
there's a lot of damage being delivered. I don't know if she's playing safe because there's the nerve issue of being in the UFC finally, or
Well, I think
what,
she fought 2 tough girls though. She
Well,
fought
and then-
Raquel
right.
Pennington,
Yeah,
and
and
she,
Mo.
she demolished her, and then she fought Mo. you
right.
know?
But then,
And Mo's tough, dude.
these tough girls fighting Ronda are getting demolished. That's where the issue lies. Is that obviously I don't believe in MMA math as far as A plus B equals C, but
It's true though. Sure Dog said so.
well, right. If Sherdog says, then it must be. But I just I know that you can't always use that as the scope to kind of see how a fight might turn out. But I just can't see her doing enough damage to Ronda before Ronda could do that much damage to her.
Jeremy, did you watch that with me, right? The Mo versus Holly Holmes, right?
I've seen both Holly Holmes' fights in the UFC. And what were we gonna ask?
I was just gonna ask, like, the noticeable size advantage that Holly Holmes had over Mo.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
huge.
large.
It was massive,
Yeah.
and I don't know if there's anyone else as big as Holly Holmes is. And she cuts a lot of weight, but she comes back.
She's
looking-
used to it,
and she
man.
looks
I
good,
think
yeah.
she's used to it, and she's used to that distance. She's got the reach, she's got the distance, and no one can.
Let me clarify the damage thing I was talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about just striking, though. I think Ronda can still throw her ass on the ground and walk
That's
all
the,
over her
that's
on
the
ground.
thing.
And
Is
I don't
she's
think
going to
Ronda-
have to.
Right.
She's going to have to.
I don't think Ronda.
She's not going to be able to stand and trade with Holly Holm.
Right. I don't know that she'd be able to outbox her. I mean, she might catch her with a good shot, but I don't think that's. I think Ronda would be able to dominate her as far as throwing her on the ground and probably armbarring her fairly quickly because
Yeah.
Holly
Holly Holmes is
She
jiu-jitsu.
doesn't strike me as
Nope.
very good.
She's gotten
Well, what do you guys think though about Holly Holmes being able to control the distance though? If
That's what she
and-
did in her first fight.
and that's what she did against Mo too.
Mo, too.
Mo
Absolutely.
couldn't. The reason Mo looked, because Mo got in, she was like pulling guard, man. She was like jumping guard to go in that fight. And the reason is because she couldn't get effectively close. Like the range was all controlled by Holly Holm.
Yep.
But Ronda's range is I think different than when you look at a lot of men in MMA. Their range, because a lot of men in MMA tend to shoot. I mean, they're wrestlers, so there tends to be a lot of lower body attacks or mid-level body attacks, whereas Ronda tends to attack with upper body stuff because of her judo background. So she's used to closing that distance of an upright posture like a boxer does.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that I would much rather see that fight, to be honest, than Miesha Tate. And to Miesha Tate's credit, she's gotten better progressively. The first fight she got fucked up like pretty quickly. Second fight, she took it like I think 3 rounds, right? She got finished in the 3rd round with an arm bar.
Well, and watching Miesha fight other women in MMA and seeing how well she does against them versus how
she's
she
tough,
did against
yeah.
Rousey, it kind of gives us a pretty good indicator that if Rousey weren't around, she'd probably be the champ.
Yep, I agree with that 100%. Man, there was some other good fights on the card.
I didn't see this fight, the Shogun and the Nogueira fight. It was a unanimous decision. Shogun took it. I don't really have anything to say because I didn't see that. Unfortunately, I was in Huntington Beach and I was unable to find a location to actually sit down and watch the fight.
You asshole.
I know.
So here's my thoughts on that fight. I thought Nogueira won the fight, and I thought Nogueira won the first time they fought. It was a close fight. It was fucking fun to watch. They beat the shit out of each other. But I thought Nogueira won. He was getting the better of the stand-up, in my opinion. Shogun rocked him a few times. I thought Shogun won the second round. Nogueira won the first and third. That was my opinion on that. Did you watch that fight, Jeremy?
I can't remember if I did or not. I had been drinking.
Frank watched it at my
Heavily.
house.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
I remember I watched it, but it was like so. I mean,
It was close. It was a
It
close
was so
fight.
close. I mean, you leave, especially the older they get. It seems like it's easier and easier for you to see it actually go to the judges, and it's like and that's one of the main rules. It's like, hey, man, you never know what those judges are going to say, so you just got to fight your heart out, man. And the older they get, it just seems like that's where it ends up because they're just such on a level playing field.
Well, I mean, they fought 10 years ago, though, and they beat the shit out of each other for 15 minutes then as well. Both of those guys are fucking durable. That's what it is,
Right.
They're
Okay.
both fucking durable guys, but you know, the first time they fought in Pride, I thought Nogueira won, but Shogun was kind of like a star. You know, he was like a real big star at the time in Pride. And this time, you know, Shogun was probably the favorite again, but I thought Nogueira won, you know? Right. And it's kind of unfortunate because he was on a pretty decent little winning streak, Nogueira was, and it sucks when you kind of, you know, like I said, I thought he won the fight, and I would much rather see him make a run again or make a run for the title.
Let's get real. I mean, this was kind of just a fight for the fans because neither of these guys are going to make a run again.
I mean, Nogueira's going to make another run.
Neither of them are. I like both guys, but this was a fight
is
for
blasphemy.
the fans.
This is blasphemy that I'm
as much as I love Pride.
I mean, we could jump in a time machine and then we could say, hey,
Pride never die.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yay, Pride. But I mean,
hey,
other than the time machine, I think they're pretty much done.
I thought it was pretty crazy how it almost looked identical. Like one guy got knocked, or Shogun almost got knocked out in the first time and the second time.
Right.
Yeah. The fight, you know, it really was. There was a lot of similarities between the first time they fought and the second time they fought. It was almost like, I don't know, watching them do their dance again in the cage. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. So.
The next fight that I think anybody cares about would be the Struve and Big Nogueira fight. And I'm a little disappointed that Big Nogueira lost, but at the same time, I'm kind of happy for Struve because it just seems like the kid won't give up on MMA. He's had all these medical problems, you know, with skull fractures, and then he had some other medical issues too, and he, you know, keeps wanting to come back. And then it's also disappointing to see someone like Nogueira go out there and lose to guys that, you know, 10 years ago you don't think the guy would have a right holding his jockstrap. But
yep.
It is what it is, and I think it's probably time for Nogueira to hang it up.
And they actually did talk about that. I don't know if you saw that or not, but Dana was saying that he's going to have the talk with Nogueira, right. Which I agree with. Nogueira's fucking awesome, but he's been in a bunch of wars, you know, and you know, I've seen it before where you fucking see a fighter and they're not themselves, you know, they start fucking sounding a little like confused and shit. That shit's not cool. Dude, I used to be, because I'm old school, I used to fucking be a huge Gary Goodrich fan, you know what I mean?
There you go.
And that motherfucker
he's like a poster child for
fucking being in wars, dude. Yeah. He was fun to watch, man. He was never going to be a champion or anything, but he would go out there and he would fucking fight. He would gas out, but he would fucking fight.
And it would never go to a decision whether he got knocked out or they got knocked out.
Exactly.
It was like Sapp.
And it was fun to watch, right?
He's still fighting. Bob Sapp's still fighting.
Yeah, there's some
if you can call it that.
There's some funny shit going on there, you know?
Yeah. The term work comes to mind.
Yeah, there's some funny shit going on in Japan with Bob Sapp. But yeah, next. I really do think I agree that it's good that Nogueira lost, and the reason it's good is because, you know, he's going to retire now. UFC said they're going to offer him a job, so he'll have something. He's got his gym. Stefan Struve is young. He fucking looked good, man. He was controlling the distance. Yeah. He was hitting Nogueira hard, man.
Right.
And he looked good for that stomach ache he complained about after the post fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Throwing up right before the fight. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and he also he was a lot bigger than he typically is, you know? So he didn't get tired. He didn't look tired.
He might be growing into his body, too. If he's a younger guy, I mean, guys fill out up until they're, you know, even into their 30s, sometimes guys put on a little bit of...
That's what I tell Nicole. I'm like, I'm just filling out, babe. I'm just filling out.
Match my age.
My body fat is the same.
Yeah, I tell Jen I'm a growing boy. She just she doesn't go for it anymore. I don't know.
Next fight would be the Antonio Silva Sao Palelli fight. TKO second round. I'm not that surprised. Silva won.
Actually, Palelli was favored.
Sao Palelli was
favored on Silva, man.
And he was actually doing better in the first round. He was winning the first round. He won the entire first round, and Nogueira kind of came back from behind to win that fight.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. What did I say?
Nogueira.
Oh, yeah, no. Antonio Silva came back from behind to win that fight. It was fun to watch, but it was kind of a meaningless fight, to be honest. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, everyone's got to start from, but it wasn't a pay-per-view fight.
You know what? I almost can agree with you as far as they could have maybe put the Maya Magny fight on there in place of that. But we'll get to that fight in a second because there's one other fight in between the two that I have a comment on, and that's the Claudia Gadelha and Jessica Aguilar fight. And all I really have to say about that is, want to touch the hiney?
You know, we were talking about this before, and on last episode, And I really thought Jessica Aguilar was going to come in and do a lot better. And don't get me wrong, dude. She fought a tough fight. And she had her moments in that fight. And it actually showed it, because she's going to fight for the title now. Claudia is, right?
Right. And I think she deserves it. I wouldn't mind seeing another fight, one more fight.
Hold on.
She gets
Who's
there.
she going to fight against? The last name.
I'm not even going to try to
No,
say it.
say the last name again. Jevgenkov?
I don't.
So, I agree with you, though. I agree that,
Space it out a little bit.
yeah.
You don't think they should have at least one more fight each before they fight each other again?
I don't know. Who else is there?
That's the problem. It's a real shallow
It's
division.
so new, the division, you know what I mean? And Jessica Aguilar was there to kind of mix it up,
Right.
And she really, in my opinion, she put herself, she probably improved her rankings off of that fight, even though she lost.
Right. I hate to see this happen, but I understand it's also just a product of being a newer sport and a developing sport, especially for the women. But I hate to see these girls who could potentially be a good fight 2 or 3 fights down the road having to fight each other every other fight and burning each other out on their fights, kind of like Tate and Rousey in a way. If maybe if that second fight hadn't happened and this coming up fight was the second fight, maybe it would be an even better fight than the second one. You see what I'm saying? Kind of as far as they're burning each other out by just one fight off and then fighting each other again, or 2 fights off and fighting each other again.
Especially with, like you said, it being so shallow of
Right.
a division.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, women's MMA is constantly growing. I think what they need to do, if we want to see more women's MMA at this point, we need to start having more, Ultimate Fighters for women.
Yeah, that's
Right?
a good point.
Because they're out there, we just don't know about them. There's no media for them, and
Jason and I, last week, I know, Jeremy was hating last week on our podcast. I just want to fucking clarify.
I'm a hater. I learn from the best.
Right away. We were actually discussing Kylie, right? So those of you guys that know, Kylie Baker trains at our gym with her father. That's the coach at Bakersfield Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We're talking about the potential that she has to go into MMA, and she's 16 right now, right? But in 2 years, the potential's there. She wrestled. She just got 3rd on the national level as a wrestler.
Freestyle, right?
Yeah, freestyle wrestling. And potentially will, who knows what she wants to do, but potentially go to college, wrestle in college, and then be like 22 years old, black belt in jiu-jitsu by that time.
Definitely.
Awesome wrestler by that time. Work on her stand-up. Dude, she'll be fucking pretty legit as a fighter.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, MMA. The difference between MMA. That's nice. He cracked a beer. Anyways, so the difference between MMA, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, they all have their own. They have all their own different points. In MMA, you got to be ready to get punched in the face a lot. So I think that maybe, if that's just, it's a decision for each and every person, not necessarily just, hey, by the way, you wrestle.
Right.
There's lots of Division One. There's a bunch of Division, whatever champs. There's
And
a
I
bunch
tend
of
to
world
agree with you
champions.
in the sense that just because someone is a phenomenal grappler doesn't mean they have to do MMA. If they decide they just want to grapple, then good for them, and they can make the best of that too. You have plenty of guys that stay in the grappling / jiu-jitsu / whatever, judo or wrestling world. You have Jordan Burroughs, who people were clamoring about coming over to MMA, and then he decided he's going to stay and wrestle. And then you have,
And you know why, though, right?
well, I don't know for sure why, but
He started training MMA, and he didn't like getting punched in the face.
Well, then
Exactly.
and that's fine,
That's
and I
what I'm
respect
saying.
that, and I respect the fact that he decided to stick with wrestling and try to push wrestling as a sport too. Because as much as I love the fact that all these people are cross training with each other and
But you got Honeycutt,
changing
right?
MMA,
You got Honeycutt.
right? But you still need the guys to
got Ben
represent the
Askren.
individual sports,
You got Askren, who you have Kyle Dake,
Right.
That is discussing transition to MMA. What I'm saying though is her pedigree will be there
The opportunity is there
for
especially for a person like her.
and especially, the sport for women will still be young at that point.
absolutely.
And that's my whole point.
Well, and I just also want to go off too. Even some of the top wrestlers that go in MMA don't do that well. I'm not saying that.
Roger.
Well, for jiu-jitsu, that's what the second part of my argument was going to be the jiu-jitsu guys and the judo guys.
we talked about this
You
last.
have gold medalists from judo that don't do that well. Jiu-jitsu guys that don't do that well. High level world wrestlers that don't do that well. Okay,
Hold
yeah.
on, what Can you tell me what high-level wrestler?
There was a guy from Egypt who got his ever-loving ass kicked in Pride, and he was a gold medalist in freestyle, and he was an absolute beast. And he got knocked out by Tsuyoshi Kisaka, I think.
I mean, that's a fucking. You're reaching.
No, but there's other ones
really,
too, though.
but I mean,
Like
that's-
who? Like
Townsend when he fought Frank Shamrock. Granted, that was 20 years ago or so,
Still.
but really, okay. So
no one knew jiu-jitsu back then, though. That was the
right,
problem,
and wrestlers might not have been cross training as much as they are now. And I'm not saying that wrestling's not one of the best or the best base for MMA.
It is the best.
But
for
I'm
sure.
just saying that just because someone is a stud wrestler does not mean they're necessarily going to be a stud in MMA.
I agree with that, but I think, and you actually talked about this. You said this
Right.
last week, and I want to bring this. This is a point because I like bringing up points that Jason makes
I have no
to
problem.
fuck up his current argument.
Well, but
No, hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
He said that there are top level wrestlers right now that could go in to the UFC with less than 6 months of training and beat a lot of guys.
I still stand by that statement.
Yes.
I think there are top
Why
level
do you think that though? And then you're like
because the level of grappling for a lot of guys in MMA is not that high. And I honestly think there are jiu-jitsu guys and judo high level judoka who may have had a little bit of cross training with jiu-jitsu or that could do very well just going straight in there. I mean, there are some guys that you train with that you're like, if this guy is this good at takedowns and control and submissions, he could go out there and this guy might be the guy he's fighting might be a way better kickboxer than he is, but it doesn't matter because he's gonna get dumped on his head and fucking choked out before he can even.
Exactly. So what my whole point is that with the wrestling and jiu-jitsu background, she can get by for a long time while her hands improve.
I agree.
Dude, there's
I
so
agree.
many people that are exactly the same way, and I think that if you can have
Look at
wrestling,
Angel.
no,
Look at Angel.
Look at Ronda. Ronda got by.
But
with-
let me say that if you've had wrestling, judo, or jiu-jitsu, like you said, it's always that way. You can always let your hands catch up.
Yep.
But the other way, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
However,
And
you
might not like
still
it
got to be
longer.
ready to get punched in the fucking face.
Well, and then the other thing too is
I think Kylie's a tough girl though, and I think she's
I am not saying
Right,
that
right.
Kylie is not a tough girl.
and I'm not either.
But
I'm
let
just
her
saying-
develop a little bit more in jiu-jitsu. Let her develop a little bit more in.
She's 16 right now, though.
Jesus Christ, she's fucking 16.
And I'm
dude.
all for letting people make their own decisions about whether they should cross over or not.
No, I'm making this decision. Matt,
For-
Jill, Kylie,
We're signing her.
you guys have to push her to MMA because I want to see someone beat Ronda Rousey.
And I think Carl's already going to go to Vegas on that one. He's going to, there's this girl, Kylie. Make some odds on this shit.
I'm making
5,000 to 1.
And
Okay,
just to
give me
throw,
a
just to
dollar.
throw another figure at you, or actually two names at you. There were two wrestlers for Team Takedown that trained with Mark Lehman. One of them was a Rosh Holt, and one of them was another name that were both either
Jared or
national.
Jake?
The smaller, the lighter weight one, but the older one, the one that fought at
Jared.
middleweight, I believe.
Or no, Jake.
He had very mixed success, but I think he was a 2-time or 3-time national champ.
But he still fought in the UFC.
But he had but for that level of pedigree, you would expect more. And then there are guys with much less pedigree, like Chris Weidman, who are champs, or Cain Velasquez, who wasn't even a national champion, who was only an All-American, I believe. Was he a national champion? I thought he was only an All-American.
Kane was a national
I think
champion.
he's
I want whoever's listening to this right now, Google it and then remember that
Google it.
Carl was right on this one because Cain Velasquez was a national
I thought he was an All-American, but
They can tag
which is
it.
also a stud. I'm going to look it up right now on the computer, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we have technology.
Yeah,
But the point that I'm getting at is that there are several stud wrestlers that don't necessarily transition as well to MMA as people think they would. There was another guy that also fought for Team Takedown, was what it used to be called, which is where Hendricks came from and where the Rosh Holts were and a few other high-level wrestlers. And the name escapes me now, but he was also, I believe, a 2-time All-American. And
But my whole point, I guess, is that you can't really name. There's not a lot of champions out there. There are a few, but not a lot of champions out there currently or previously that haven't had at least some level of success wrestling
I agree.
in the high school
I
or
never
college
disagree
level.
with that statement.
But
We're just talking about national champions or
Let me say
Olympic
one more
gold
thing.
medalists.
Let me say one more thing. If you can keep the distance and stuff takedowns and your hands and Holly Holm-ish, then you're going to be somebody tough to deal with.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that.
Holly Holm's jiu-jitsu, I guarantee it fucking sucks, and
Oh,
I guarantee you her wrestling sucks.
I'm sure, but her takedown
But
defense is good.
her takedown defense is good, and her striking and her the way that she keeps the distance is great.
No, I agree. Jason's looking up to see if he's wrong. He's
He
going to
won the National Junior College Championship.
He won at Arizona.
Oh, that doesn't
State.
fucking count.
He won his Arizona State.
Nope. Okay, no.
He did not.
He placed 5th in 2005 and 4th in 2006 while at ASU.
And then keep
Velasquez wrestled alongside future UFC fighters Bader and CB Dalloway. It says nothing about being a national champion.
He was not.
He was 86 and 17, and he placed 5th and 4th. I don't think he was ever a national champ. I think he was an All-American.
He was a champion in my
no,
heart.
because he and my yeah.
He was a national champion.
Because I remember them talking
the
about one of the
comic
guys that
book
he
that I
lost to
drew,
fighting MMA, and the guy that he
where he's
lost
standing on
to
top of a hill.
did worse than he did. And that's what I'm getting at too. Ultimately, is that there are guys who are higher level in a given sport, whether it's wrestling or jiu-jitsu or judo, and then they cross over to MMA, and whether it's because they can't handle the punches or because their style doesn't fit as well into that scheme as the other fighters does, it's just it's not something that you can forecast as easily as people think. And I think I brought these guys up last time: Dean Lister, Dave Terrell, and these are all stud Abu Dhabi level jiu-jitsu guys.
Hey, David Terrell did good. He only lost. Andre
He fought like once every 3 years because he was injured all the time.
Yeah, but his was.
Which doesn't really support my argument, but I'm just saying that
he was mental though, right?
Right,
He-
right.
Not and I
Hey, dude,
want.
Andre Gallo fought, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he did okay. He was 5-3, I
And
think.
then he got fucked up by Tyrone Woodley, and I loved every single.
And then Tyrone Woodley goes out there and gets the piss beat out of him by guys that
You would
are,
never
are
even-
not as good at,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That you like. And I would say they're much better strikers than Galvao, but that's also part
So
of
how do you
MMA. Is
stand
there's
like Donald Cerrone? I mean, have we ever really seen him go to the ground?
no, I think he's got pretty sharp ground, dude. I've seen him.
I'm not saying he doesn't.
No, he's
I'm
caught
not
some
saying he
people.
doesn't.
He's
There's
caught
good
some people.
triangles,
Yeah, he's got
yeah.
good
Does he?
triangles. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
caught some pretty good guys.
I mean, he's in the game so long though, and like it's not. I'm not saying that you have to be a wrestler or you have to. That has to be your game plan. Look at Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva is like a perfect example of
Right.
someone that used his footwork and his movement and his creativity in the cage to fucking dominate a lot of people,
Right.
And yeah, did he have like decent jiu-jitsu? Yeah, but his takedown defense kind of
He's got good MMA jiu-jitsu.
yeah, he's got good. He never did anything like in a pure jiu-jitsu sense, So
All right, we got off on a tangent. But
Yes.
that was
we got to move on.
right. So the next fight that I think anyone cares about is the Maya Magny fight, which we talked about a little bit last time. I'm really stoked that Maya won. I really like his style of how he fights in MMA. I like his jiu-jitsu style. I like his attitude. And I honestly kind of was betting a little bit against him because Magny seems like he's really on the upswing, and Maya looks like he's been on the downswing lately. But he came out there and he did what he does best, and he pretty much submitted the guy with minimal damage to his opponent. And he even talked about that, and I kind of respect that, and that's a big part of what drew me to jiu-jitsu, when I was younger, and still does, is just I like that it can be something that is not necessarily purely about damage or about destroying. It's also, in a sense, an art form, or in a sense, a means of a gentle art, so to speak, I guess, or how to
like take care of a situation, whether it's on the streets or in an MMA fight, with putting minimal damage on your opponent. Yeah, I want to talk about this because I think this is a huge surprise for me. This is a huge surprise for me. I thought Magny was going to come in and really dominate Maya. So I was wrong in every sense of that fight. Like, Maya came in, controlled. I do got to give Magny props for survive, because he was on the ground the whole time. First round,
Right.
got subbed in the second round, but he was on the ground the whole time, and he actually used what we discussed last week, the empty half guard, to recover his guard.
guard.
To recover.
Magny did?
Yeah, a couple times. And I was surprised by that. So he did show some good moments, but man, this probably was really eye-opening and will make him a better fighter for sure,
Right.
in the future.
And the last thing I want to say about Maya, just kind of rounding out this topic, was he's also, you look at the guy, and of course he's athletic. He's a professional MMA fighter, but you compare him to a lot of the other guys, and he's not what you would call a physical specimen as far
He's
as
not the
athleticism
Woodley.
goes. Right. But his technique is so sharp, and his timing and his composure when he's obviously, it's easy to have composure when you're winning, I guess, but he just seems to have composure most of the time. I mean, and anybody can get hit and lose their game plan or whatever. But I'm talking about, when he's out there and he's doing his thing and he's on point, he looks
Maya
like
hasn't been doing that well. I mean,
right,
until
but
this fight.
right, but but before that, when he does do well, you watch him and he's just like an average guy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That goes out there and has phenomenal technique and timing.
Yep.
And
World champion,
and
right?
just to kind of support that too is I watched him and Jacare. It was in a jiu-jitsu tournament in Brazil. It's probably been 10 years, but it was interesting because he beat Jacare, and this was at a time when Jacare was unbeatable, and he's a phenomenal athlete and a beast and super good judo and super good passing and super good all this stuff. And Maya basically just played a technical guard retention game and eventually defeated him, I think, with a sweep. And it was just awesome to watch and see how technical the much less athletic guy was against the physically imposing stud, so to speak. And that's what made me a fan of Maya, I guess, to begin with.
Speaking of Jacare, why hasn't he gotten a title shot yet?
I think he's going to fight next. So the reason he didn't get the title shot over Rockhold is because he lost to Luke Rockhold previously. So
Makes sense.
he'll get his shot.
But he lost. When did he lose to Rockhold?
It was in Strikeforce.
In Strikeforce, they're holding. Okay. I
Well,
guess. I mean,
and Rockhold has looked really good.
yeah,
Well,
Rockhold's
and
bad
think about this too, though. Some of this is good game planning by the UFC because they don't want to kill off all their. They don't want to kill off all their challengers.
block their title shots.
Well, exactly, because if they kill off all their challengers, so then they have nobody to fight this guy. It's the same problem we're talking about with the female divisions, where
Right,
it's-
Misha.
it's the one fight.
even
off,
though
one fight off,
everybody
one
else
fight
wants
off.
to watch. Yeah.
But and then the next fight that I think was interesting is the Cummings and Cavalcante fight. We talked about that one a little bit too. I like Pat Cummings. I think he's fun to watch as an up and comer, and it's interesting to see his progression after getting his ass kicked by Cormier.
Yep.
But I like watching him, and I hope that he keeps doing well. And beating Cavalcante, I think, is a pretty good win. Cavalcante is dangerous.
Man,
Did you see that after picture, dude? Of
he
his
really
face?
looked- he was fucked up,
He
man.
took some shit, man.
You know what was crazy about that is that he was dominating the range, right? Or like where the fight took place. He was taking him down at will and but fuck, dude. Fiezhao, whenever he would connect, dude, it would really, I guess, like rock, But he never actually looked in trouble, though.
yeah.
No, he never looked in trouble, but he was just like, he looked like he got fucked up.
Right.
I think
But he
only
won.
got
He for
punched
sure won.
twice.
Yeah. I think maybe Fiezhao, like seriously, I don't know if there's stats that you can look up, Jason, but I think Fiezhao landed less than 20 strikes the whole fight.
But
And
they were
that's-
all just devastating.
that was like the damage.
He's
though,
got
you know?
hands, dude. It's like he's got that one-hitter quitter. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that combos or punches and bunches. He's just that epic fucking overhand, like devastation or whatever.
Yes.
And then the only other fight that I was going to bring up because it was a really good fight was the Yuri Alcantara and the Leandro Issa fight. We had talked about that a little bit too, about both guys having really good jiu-jitsu and then just being little tiny, scrappers, wasps swarming around each other. And I watched the fight and it was a pretty good fight. And
That was a fun fight to
yeah,
watch.
it was a good fight to watch.
Yeah, that was fun. Alcantara picked it up because he was doing good in the first round. Second round, kind of slowed down a little bit, but then third round he really picked it up and kind of finished. In my eyes, sealed the deal. Looked really good in that fight. So, we got to talk about Jake Shields, right?
That's
Oh, definitely.
this was what I was writing to ask you.
Yeah.
WSOF.
Yes, we got to talk about Jake
the
Shields. So,
World Series of
What the
Fighting.
fuck?
World Series of fucking
What's
shit.
stupid? Yeah.
No, okay, so we got to talk about Jake Shields.
World Series of fucking.
Oh, okay. Who watched the fight?
Oh,
for
and
one?
this is my soundbite.
I
when open my
saw.
beer.
Holy shit! Sparks came from that thing, dude.
So a lot of people probably only saw where he held it, right? Held the Kimura
Yep,
a little longer.
I saw that,
right?
yep.
I actually watched the whole fight. I recorded the fights, watched them because we were watching UFC 190, right? So we recorded the fights. I watched it later, and there's like a few times where Jake is literally like saying, he's like, okay, so fucking Paul Harris is like gouging in his eyes, and it's abundantly clear, and Jake's like, ow, what the fuck, ref? He's gouging my eyes. And he's fucking yelling at Steve Mazzagatti. And Mazzagati's like, watch the fingers. And then Jake fucking does it again, you know? And his eyes were so fucked up, dude. So fucked up.
I saw some after pics that were like, there is no other explanation for that other than fingers and scratching and.
Correct. And he was fucking like controlling the ground game so hard, dude. So hardcore. And I know Jeremy's not a Jake Shields fan. I'm not sure if Jason
No, but I am.
I'm a huge Jake Shields fan. So like when I see some fucking dirty shit happen to one of my boys, you know, one of the people I support, you know.
It doesn't have to be one of my boys to see that Paul Harris is a fucking asshole and he's just fucking. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean,
No,
I'm not
I
on
know.
Jake Shields' nuts like you, but still, man.
Well, man, you know, like I understand, but you are a grappler, so you should appreciate the fact that he can control the fuck out of people, and he does. And
absolutely.
And he subs people. He subs people that should be able to escape. You
Look,
know,
If I'm going to see a fight, I want to see A, a knockout, B, a fucking submission. I don't want to see.
Jake Shields gets a lot of stuff.
Dude, he's one of the most fucking boring fighters I've ever seen in my fucking life. The only reason that we're talking about Jake Shields right now is because of Paul Harris. That's the only reason. He's fucking boring.
I would be
dude.
talking about Jake Shields because I'm not.
Well, you're always talking to him
we
because
actually
you're
talked about Jake
fucking
Shields
dreaming
last night
about
for
him, and you
Greg.
got a picture up in your fucking living room. with him.
You know, he's a little dreamy, but that's okay.
No, honestly, is like he's a real chill guy. You know, he's a real chill person. He would never. I've never heard him ever get crazy in the ring like that. Like where he's like, "What the fuck, ref?" Like I've never heard him say anything like that. You know, and that's what really like made it clear to me that, oh shit, there's some dirty shit going on right now. Jake's not a complainer, dude. He's a fucking tough guy. He'll fight anyone,
scrapper, dude.
anytime. He doesn't give a fuck, dude. And there was some dirty shit going down. And if you rewatch the entire fight, you'll hear him. He's literally saying, "What the fuck, ref?" That's on like live TV, you know. And then at the end when he held it, yeah, was that kind of fucked up that Jake punched him? Yeah, for sure. But
Dude,
I can't
Paul
say
Harris,
that. I
dude,
can't
he
say
was
that I would
probably
have done the same thing.
Dude, but he was probably so pissed that he was getting away with all that fucking shit the whole fucking fight.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, dude, he
Cranked it too.
got caught with a fucking Kimura and he held that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, dude.
You should not have to tap like
No.
fucking 8
Did
times.
you see like Joe Lauzon? He actually did a breakdown.
Yeah.
He did 5 of his fights and 5 of his fights, and basically,
Dude, Joe has stopped before the ref has even touched him.
exactly.
Yeah.
Joe and
he
like
walked
Joe was
away
saying.
from what's his name?
Yeah, against Gomi.
Gomi, yeah. You know what though? This was my assessment too of the fight. From what the clips that I saw and from just the two fighters knowing their styles, Paul Harris is a very aggressive and he's constantly attacking, even to the point where it seems like he would sacrifice a quality position to attack something, especially a leg lock. And Shields is a very methodical, very positional-based jiu-jitsu / wrestler /
AKA boring.
Right, and to some people it is, and I understand that argument. But to me, I kind of appreciate some of the stuff he does, and I think that Paul Harris was probably frustrated because Shields was controlling him a lot more than he expected to be, and Jake definitely showed some really good control as far as mounting or taking his back or whatever. And then so Paul Harris might have resorted to some things like eye gouging, and I kind of tend to believe that that's what he was doing based off of, like Carl said, some of the reactions and then seeing some of the pictures afterwards.
You can honestly, and I have it recorded, so if you guys want to come over sometime, we can watch it, dude, and it's fucking blatantly clear, man.
Yeah.
And Jake, here's the thing, dude, is like Jake Shields not a pussy, man.
Right.
He would not make some bullshit up, you know. He would not. He's not a fuck. He was in mount when this was happening. So why would he be complaining about something?
And you also
know?
have to ask yourself, this guy's got probably close to 40 fights in MMA, and
Yeah.
you've never seen anything like this out
And
of
that's
the guy
what he
before.
said. You know, he mentioned that. He said, "I've had fucking over 40 fights, and I've never had anyone fucking do this to me." You know, and
He's never fought John Jones either. But
dude, you know, is Paul Harris good, dude? Yeah,
he's good, but he doesn't.
But
need
look
to
what he
be
did
so
to
fucked up.
With
He's
Avalon, right? The Kimura Trap guy, is that Avalon?
Oh yeah, David Avalon. Yeah,
David Avalon, right?
Avellan. Yeah.
Avellan.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Is that how you say it? How do you say
Avalon.
it?
I thought
I thought it was Avalon.
Avalon.
Isn't it Avellan?
Yeah,
Avellan.
Avalon.
I don't know. I've never heard it spoken, so.
I think it's I'm just gonna say Avalon.
I'm pretty sure it's Avalon.
I'm just gonna say that Jason doesn't
Go
know what
ahead.
he's talking
I don't know what I'm
about.
talking about.
It's,
I seriously, I read the guy's name on the internet for the past
he has
12 years.
I bought his,
yeah.
I bought his fucking DVD for
I think I've
crying
heard
out
him
loud.
say it before, and it says Avalon.
David Avalon, his brother's Marcos.
Wow.
So
That's a little
Shit.
showy. I know he's got
His
a brother
mom's
named-
name is.
Right.
I'm just kidding.
If I would have gone with the villain just because it sounds cooler than.
but anyway,
I'd
right?
be pissed if my never mind.
So ADCC, right? I think it was 2007 or 2005, 2007, I believe, where Paul Harris fucking extended and like had the
Oh, he
heel
popped
hook,
it, yeah.
right? They had.
Yeah.
Do you know what we're talking
No,
about?
I do not.
Okay, so Paul Harris and David Avalon rolled out of bounds, right? Like when
Is this the jiu-jitsu match?
yeah,
It's
Abu
ADCC.
Dhabi. Yeah, it was ADCC.
2009, I
I've
think.
seen that one.
Yeah, so Paul Harris like rolled out of, or David Avalon rolled out of bounds to defend the takedown. They reset them
Yeah.
in the heel hook position.
What the
In
fuck?
the middle, yeah.
Yeah,
but
right in the middle of the- deeper than
deep
the
in the position, right? And David Avalon's like fighting the whole time. He's like, no, I don't want to be, you know. So
This is bullshit.
This doesn't feel like the
This
same.
is fucking bullshit.
I've been in that where some guy had me in the heel hook and like we reset and like I was telling us, man, this still feels way tighter than it was when we first
You guys
started.
made this worse.
I've actually had positions on people, and then the guy's like, no, and the ref's like, well, he said no. Yeah, I'm
and that's
like,
what happened.
okay, this is fair.
yeah, no, I've seen
is
the
the other
match.
way.
I probably seen the match that Jeremy's
Yeah.
referring
In
to.
jiu-jitsu
right now.
tournaments, volume wins
Yeah.
fights.
So anyway, they reset, they started, and fucking Paul Harris, like, immediately David Avalon starts tapping, and Paul Harris cranks it and fucking tears his ACL. Which
Yeah,
is
he's
fucked
on his
up.
back,
and, like,
cranked,
Paul Harris
screaming.
tries to go hug him. He's like, fuck you, dude. Don't touch me, you know?
Yeah.
This is like, dude, jiu-jitsu, like Jason said earlier, jiu-jitsu is really a fucking martial art that you do not have to hurt people.
Right.
People have the option to tap out, and if you're a fucking not a dickhead motherfucker, if you are not a motherfucker, you can let someone tap and be fine with that, right? But if you're a fucking piece of shit, dude, and you go into the gym trying to hurt people,
Well, and it doesn't even have to be the gym too, though. I
in
mean,
tournaments,
right? Or
comps,
in-
whatever,
in- yeah.
MMA, but like the common thread with Paul Harris, because he trains with no.
He's originally a Brazilian. I mean, he's a Brazilian top
Brazilian
team
top
guy.
team guy.
Yeah.
But and they always say, you know, there's stories of him like hurting his training partners, man. So UFC Fight Night, Teixeira versus St. Perouse, August 8th. That's gonna be tomorrow night. We're gonna give our picks. So Glover Teixeira versus Ovince St. Perouse. I'm picking St. Perouse on this. The reason is because Glover Teixeira, even though he has knockout power, I believe he gasses out pretty quickly, and Ovince St. Perouse has like good stamina. He takes people down. He's a more dynamic fighter to me than Glover Teixeira. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think his takedown defense is way better than Glover's is going to be.
I agree too. You know what? I like Glover, and the longer the fight goes, the more I think it favors Glover. But I think overall, St. Perouse is on the upswing. The athleticism, the striking.
I would disagree with you on a. I think the shorter if the fight is shorter, it favors Teixeira.
Well, I think
Absolutely. That's what I was
I
going to
agree
say
with that.
because Peru's a freaking grinder, and if he can get out of the first round, then Teixeira basically doesn't have a chance at that point.
Then I stand corrected. What I was getting at was the Glover. The issue I have with Glover and with St. Perouse is that I think if Glover is able to start to take him into his realm as far as grind him to the ground, start controlling him, start taking him down, start passing his guard, start doing stuff like that, I think Glover's going to win. I think where Ovince is going to prevail is if he defends the takedown, keeps walking up the cage, keeps using the cage to prevent him from getting taken down, or just using sprawls or whatever, and is able to continue striking. That's where I have more concern about Glover getting TKO'd or more tired and losing the fight later. So you guys are right. But what I meant was just as far as Glover being able to start to take the fight into his world as far as the ground and submission game goes.
Okay, I will. All right, I'll let you have that. I still disagree with you though, even on all that.
And maybe not even in the second round because maybe he will gas. But
Well, I believe that Glover Teixeira's best chance is not to win on the ground. but
I
to
think
win on the feet.
Teixeira.
do you really believe that though?
Yes.
Teixeira's going to win on his feet.
That's the only way.
That's
to
it.
win.
It's the only way he's going to win.
Is St. Preux that good on the ground?
No,
No,
but
he's a grinder.
He's a grinder, and so Teixeira's not that good on the ground.
No.
Teixeira's like Teixeira's.
I think you guys are underestimating his ground.
I'm not saying they both have decent ground. But what I'm saying is
You would
if-
fuck up Glover Teixeira on the ground, Jason.
I
100%.
don't know that I would. He's not a
No.
bad black belt, dude. From
You-
what I
no.
understand.
he's a black belt.
Yeah.
Bro.
If you look at the stats, though,
Well,
they're
he's
pretty
a
even.
black belt.
Jason,
Well, black
you know,
belt doesn't
Warren
mean
is
you're
black.
good, but I've also heard that he's a good black belt.
He's a lot bigger than you, but you would fuck
Right.
him up. 100%. 100%. Jason Ackerman will fuck up Glover Teixeira on the ground.
Let's make it happen.
I'm just going to clarify that I don't necessarily agree with that. This is just statements that are being made by my co-host.
I think,
So,
I think he'd take all the fighters on the ground.
Well, easy. Hey, Benil's good, man. That guy.
Let's just change the show to blow smoke up Ackerman's
come on.
house.
Let's-
No, but honestly, Glover Teixeira, if he's gonna win, he's gonna win on the feet.
On the feet.
He's gonna win by a knockout.
In first round. In the first round.
Correct. He's gonna because he'll gas out. He started at the pit, right? He started,
Right. He's a pit guy.
but now he's training at American Top Team.
ATT. Okay.
So he's getting that ground experience. Vince St. Preux is not a wrestler.
I know
Believe it
he's
or
a
not.
football player. He played for Tennessee.
Yes.
He's a linebacker.
He's
But
not
he
a
stays
football.
so far away,
but
though.
he's a
He's
good.
really good
he
at
has
that.
good takedowns. He has good top control. So,
But I also think his athleticism in the striking department and the continuing to frustrate as far as control in the jiu-jitsu sense is what's going to help him prevail.
I think Glover's only chance
You
is
see
to
what I'm
get a
saying?
knockout.
I think he's going to frustrate him because he's so strong and so athletic that he's going to keep standing up. But that's where Glover will have problems. But
So
if
who are you
Glover's
taking?
able.
He's picking.
And now you guys are making me think maybe I should.
Who are you
go-
picking?
I'm
picking Glover.
I was already.
You pick Glover?
I'm picking Glover first round.
Okay.
I put
So
you
I
another
pick-
guy.
I
put
picked
you another guy.
St. Preux.
This is.
I picked St.
I have Glover actually on my DraftKings, like on my picks.
After the chastising I
You wanna just
received,
give us
I
some money?
refuse to pick one of these guys. I'm just going to say that usually my predictions are pretty in line with most of my
Who are you
co-hosts.
gonna
but
pick? Just
apparently-
pick like a pick, gun to your head.
Probably St. Preux.
Okay, there it is.
But
Same pro, gun to your head.
3-1.
What round?
All
What
right,
round?
all right,
is that-
we got-
what's the odds?
3-1. I picked St. Preux.
But what is it? Do you know what the Vegas odds are? Because that would also
No
kinda
one
spice
gives
it
a
up.
flying-
No, that would spice this up
I
a little
believe.
bit.
I believe Teixeira's a favorite.
By like what, 200 maybe?
He's not very
Maybe a little
much.
less.
He is
It's
not
it's
very
got to be like a
much.
150, 200.
It's
yeah.
not very much.
It's probably a close, even
Yeah.
fight.
It's very
so
close to even
we're
fight.
moving on to Michael Johnson, Benil Dariush. I'm picking Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson looked like a fucking animal lately.
Beast striker.
His striking mixed in with his wrestling game. The one thing you'll notice when Michael Johnson is fighting, his fucking footwork is so flat-footed. He's like the most flat-footed fighter at 170 pounds that I've seen so far.
But-
But
Say
okay,
that's right,
this is
though.
a great fight for both of these fighters because Dariush has been on a fucking tear.
He's a monster.
I'm a huge fan of Dariush lately, but however, Michael Johnson lately has been just ridiculous,
Yes.
ridiculous.
I-
Been knocking fools out, but Dariush has been fighting some top level
and
fools right now.
This is where you know what? I've been watching Michael lately, and he does look very good with the striking department. Even though like you were talking about being flat-footed, from what I remember of his recent fights, he's very good at taking on defense. His wrestling is not necessarily offensive, from what I remember.
And that's where Dariush is going to take
but
care
he's
of
had some
business.
offensive wrestling lately too.
Yeah.
Because
He started off as a pure wrestler.
really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. Michael Johnson started off as a pure wrestler, moved to Black Zillions, and that's where his striking refined.
Okay.
Picked up a
So,
little bit.
but this is what I'll say about Dariush is that I think that
He's a top wrestler, like
Well-
all those Russian.
Well,
motherfuckers.
no. You know what? I don't think he is. I think Dariush is a Hamala Bahal black belt, I believe, and he's a very.
I thought it was a Gracie.
I thought he was Hamala Bahal.
So I watched that one with Crone from 2 years ago.
And
Hamza
a lot of people thought
He was a
that
brown
a lot of people
belt at
thought
the time.
Benil beat Crone, and it was kind of a toss up from what I saw. But
Yeah,
it was
they didn't know. What
it was a
the-
tough match. It
on
was
Buddha
a
videos, they didn't know where the points came from.
right. It was.
So basically,
But
Dariush is
he's
not going to
a-
be able to take him down.
Well, no. This is what, let me finish. Is that Dariush is a very sporty jiu-jitsu guy, as far as what his sport jiu-jitsu looked like, but his MMA fights, and his jiu-jitsu and MMA has seemed to transition over very well. And I don't know if that's based off of where he's been training or just he's just a good athlete or what, but he's entertaining. And I think Michael Johnson tends to fight guys and fight like a guy that seems to do very well with a very straightforward or traditional boxer wrestler type of fighter, whereas Beneil Dariush is not one of those guys, and it's kind of almost like an asymmetrical warfare against Michael Johnson, and he's going to throw things at Michael Johnson that Michael Johnson might not be expecting.
And I agree with that.
So who are you picking?
Beneil.
yeah.
You're picking Dariush?
Yeah.
What round?
That's gonna. That's
Is he gonna be a-
That's
what-
that's
the only
a
reason-
failed pick right there.
No, listen. What I'm the only reason I'm asking what round is it going to be a grind? Or is it
No,
going to
Michael
be
Johnson's gonna win the grind for sure.
If it's a grind, I think Johnson will win. I'll say that, but I think Dariush
So you
might have
think that
a chance
Dariush
with the
is
sub
actually
or like
How's
a,
he gonna take him down though?
they don't have to take someone down to sub him.
Okay.
If someone shoots
So
in
you're
sloppy,
taking
gets
Dariush.
guillotine or gets
Who
triangled
are-
or gets
who are
Michael
you
Johnson
taking?
will not.
You're taking Johnson.
Yes.
How you say Johnson gets flat-footed in his boxing, I think he's going to get flat-footed on his jiu-jitsu, and I think that's where Beneil's going to...
So you're taking Dariush as well.
Yes.
I'm taking Dariush second round.
Dariush also has, you know what?
Fuck all you guys.
He's a lanky jiu-jitsu guy who's
Mark
got
it down.
crazy.
Hey, Frank,
he's got
mark it
crazy
down.
fucking
We'll talk about
chokes.
this next week.
We will talk about
Okay.
next week, but Dariush
You might be right.
is winning that
and
fight.
here's the thing
Might-
too: is some of these
might
picks.
be right.
I'll tell you right now, some of these picks are like I'm like 59% one way and like
No, dude, that's why they're
Michael
fighting.
Johnson-
and
Michael
it's like-
Johnson's
that's why
on
they're
a
fighting. But
right
that-
now.
but he is on a streak. But
I have-
Dariush is a bad man, and he's been on a streak as well.
Fuck you guys. All right.
No,
Let's
but
go to the
I
next
like,
one.
I like Johnson. I'm just going to put it on. I like Johnson.
Who are you picking, you
How
fucking
you pick
flip flopper?
Beneil?
But I can tell by the look in your eyes that you see my argument.
He goes, I'm taking Dariush, but I like Michael Johnson. That's why the fighters are fighting.
We gotta
because
move
they're
on.
great
Derek
fights.
Brunson versus Sam Alvey.
Is that Smiling Sam?
That's
Yes,
the only
it
two I'm
is.
picking.
Smiling Sam.
And
Picking him.
I'm actually picking Derek Brunson.
I was
on
gonna
this
go with
fight.
Brunson too.
I'm going with Smiling Sam.
I like both these fighters.
I like both of
They're
them,
both fun to watch.
but I like Smiling Sam more.
Sam Alvey, like he does gas out though. He gets
Yeah,
a
he
he,
does.
he gets a little slow.
Sure
in
he
that
does.
Second, third round.
But he smiles.
So is that 4 for 4?
I'm taking Smiling Sam just because I like his face when he smiles.
You're going over there?
All right, moving on. We got Jared Rosholt versus Timothy Johnson. I'm picking Jared Rosholt.
I am
think
too,
I think his
probably.
wrestling is going to dominate this fight.
You know, I don't know anything
I'm
about
taking
Timothy
Rosholt
Johnson.
too. I don't know anything about either
the
one.
mustache-
But the mustache.
Yeah,
Severn and who's the other guy?
Not
Don
doing nothing
Fry
for you.
and-
Don
Okay.
Fry.
If he had hair, I would change my opinion.
I'm
But
going
the bald
Rosholt.
head and the mustache.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel
Johnson.
about
I
that.
like the last
can't do
name
that.
Johnson because it reminds me of Michael Johnson.
or
But
L.A.
however-
Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay, Sarah McMahon, Amanda Nunes. I'm picking Sarah McMahon.
Sarah
I'm
McMahon.
Sarah. Yeah.
I'm doing Sarah
sorry,
McMahon
I
as
mean-
well.
All four
I
of us?
think she's gonna. Well, I hope that she's gonna keep progressing. I like her story. I like her.
She's a grinder, dude.
Well, and I like her story. I like her losing her brother.
If-
I don't like her losing her brother, but I like the story about her losing
Sarah
her brother.
McMahon
and
could go back after she fights a couple more fights
and maybe
and fight
do a good job with
Ronda, and
Yeah,
actually
I agree.
it'll be a different fight.
I always respect the person that's got heart and overcomes adversary
Mm-hmm.
or adversity, excuse me. And hearing her story, it's hard to not like her after hearing her story. So
Next fight is kind of a toss-up. I got Ray Borg,
and Herrera.
Herrera. Yeah.
I'm going Herrera.
I don't know either of these guys, and they're 125.
I know
I'm
Ray-
going Herrera.
I know Ray Borg. I'm not familiar with Herrera, but
Is this a horse race or is this a fight?
I'm not making a pick here.
Okay.
So Uriah Hall,
There's a click in there you missed.
So
And a pop.
I'm going, dude. Anybody that fights with bones sticking out of their body,
I'm gonna pick Uriah Hall.
I'm picking Uriah Hall.
I'm picking Uriah. Don't know anything about Bamgos.
Bamgoy.
He looks.
Athletic.
Well, you used that word. I didn't. But
you're looking
I
at his
just
pecs, I guess.
Uriah Hall. I mean,
I don't know. I'm going to go against you guys on this one because Uriah Hall hasn't impressed me the last.
What the fuck is wrong with
But he
you?
has been fighting tough fighters though.
Holy shit, Uriah Hall's been fighting the epitome of fucking UFC fighters lately, and he's been
I'm going to go
fucking
against
them
you
up.
guys.
All right.
That's it.
Okay, good.
Quiet.
I'm glad.
Frank.
All right.
All right. Chris Camozzi, Tom Watson. I'm
Both
picking.
of these guys are veterans, man.
I'm picking Tom Watson.
I'm going
on this
Camozzi.
fight.
Yeah.
I'm going Camozzi just because I said it.
All four.
No, I'm going Camozzi. Give me
Oh,
Camozzi.
I'm sorry.
I got Tom Watson.
What the fuck?
Tough English fighter, right?
I like Kamosi, dude.
Okay, next fight we got Dustin Ortiz, Willie Gates.
I'm going Willie Gates because I like a guy that steps up last minute and fights.
Big time.
Yeah.
I'm going Willie Gates as well.
I got Dustin Ortiz on this one.
Right, and I can,
This is gonna be a close, tough fight.
Well, and just referring to Willie Gates' last fight, I can't remember who he fought, but he stepped up last minute and fought like a top 5 fighter or something like that, and it was his first fight in UFC.
And it was a close. Tough fight.
And he was coming for it, so that's why I respect that. He was throwing for the fences, and
I like underdogs, and I like when people step up too, so I'm going to go with Gates.
There you
All
go.
right. So those are our picks for tomorrow's night fights.
That's not all we're going to
We're not going through the prelim fights. No.
I picked him.
So we will recap the fights next Friday. I think we're gonna close out now. The beers were delicious. We actually turned into some Dogfish Head.
How did you feel about the one that I brought? Which one did you pour?
I liked it. I only had a little bit of it.
I poured
Modern Times was actually
The double or the single?
The Modern
the
Times
single.
was bomb, dude.
Modern Times.
really good.
Modern Times was a really good beer.
It was impressive.
Wait, I just want to say the name.
The Dogfish Head, we had Dogfish Head Indian Brown Ale, fantastic. And then we had the Dogfish Head Namaste, which was delicious as well.
And then the Hops of Wrath from Dust Bowl.
Yes.
It was just a regular IPA, and it was a 6.6, and it was a good sipper.
It was tasty.
Yeah.
Next week. Speaking of, sorry. Before we end, we gotta recap the Jiu-Jitsu World League. So we got to talk about Jiu-Jitsu World League. I text Jason, just backstory. I text Jason after he competed. I said, how'd it go? He said he was winning 10-2, and then he got caught with an ankle.
You know what? I was winning 10-2 on the scoreboards. Honestly, I thought it would have been 8-2. I don't know where the 10-2 came from, so I'm just going to go with that first of all. But basically, we both got penalized for inactivity. I don't feel like it was necessarily inactivity. We were both just feeling each other out.
Can you talk about how much time that was when you got penalized?
I guess is going to be in the 2 to 3 minute range, maybe at the most.
It's quick.
Did you
It
end
is
up pulling
quick. I've
guard?
done World League
I
before.
pulled guard. He couldn't pass. Initially, I'll just give you a quick synopsis.
Okay.
I pulled guard. He couldn't pass kind of like a half. You guys refer to it as paperclip. I just refer to it as like a knee shield type guard. And I kept defending the pass, and then he kind of slowed down for a second, and I got full guard. And then I'm just basically breaking posture, preventing him from attacking as far as passing and stuff like that goes. And he's doing his part to try to stand up and pass. So I don't know that necessarily. I wouldn't say either of us were stalling, but I understand that it's a 6-minute match and they want action, so they're basically saying you guys better do something or else. And so they warned us and gave us both 2 points because I think that's their rules. So I got 2 points, he got 2 points, and then about 5 to 10 seconds later after that, I swept him to mount and I held the mount, so I had the 2 points for the sweep and the 4 points for the mount, so I was a 6-8. So that's why my calculation was 8-2, but the scorecard read 10-2, and I'm not sure where that came from. But
What sweep did you use to get that?
basically, I guess what you would refer to as a flower sweep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably my strongest or one of my strongest sweeps.
I would disagree. I think your single leg X sweep is the best.
Really?
Let's blow smoke up his ass right now. We don't got time to do that. Let's go.
Okay, so anyways, I swept him. I had him mounted, and honestly, I should have just kept him mounted and stayed tighter longer, but I started loosening up a little bit, hoping that he would attack something. And then we got in a weird scramble in a weird position, and I don't know if I had like a lapse in judgment or what, but he ended up coming up on top for a quick second in a scramble, and he didn't even really try to come up on top or pass. He just immediately sat back for a leg. And then we played for about a minute between a straight ankle lock, a knee bar, a toe hold, and I defended all those, and then we got into this position that was, some people said it was very heel hook-ishy, and I you know what, I don't really care because
What did it feel like?
well, it was.
What was it putting pressure on
Do
your
you know what an
ankle?
do you know what an Estima lock is?
Yes.
It was like an Estima lock, but without being on his body. So the angle.
But that's an ankle lock, though.
Well, it's a foot lock, but also the angle of the torque of the knee was such that his. Well, wait, listen. So I'll explain it so that I can answer what you're saying.
Okay.
My knee was on top. My knee was being turned downward while it was on top of his body, almost making it a reap. I don't know that it was a reap or it wasn't quite frankly, I don't care if it was a reap or not because I feel like I should be able to defend any of them. But it was not where the typical ankle lock where your leg is on the side that is closest to the ground. My leg was on the side that was facing up and being turned inward. Do you see what I'm saying now? So that the knee is being pointed inward and the leg is on top of your opponent as opposed to underneath your opponent. Mm-hmm. And then the ankle lock component of it was that the ankle was being bent and the pain was that I thought my ankle was going to pop.
Okay.
However, and that's why I felt like I have no problem with what he did. Some people were like, "Oh, that was because another guy before me got his ankle popped." Pretty good.
The pressure you felt was at the ankle, though.
It was at the right. It was to the front and below the ankle. So it was like that ligament or whatever that connects to your foot.
That was going to be my question because if you felt it was at the knee, then okay, that's some legit concern. But if you felt it was at the ankle, then hey, it was a legit.
And my stance on this is it doesn't matter to me. I feel like I should be able to escape either. So that's why it was of no consequence either way. But the point is it was a very unique footlock. It was a very good footlock. He caught me with it, and that was pretty much the end of the match. And before that, I felt phenomenal. I wasn't tired. I felt like he really had nothing else for me besides.
Do you remember the time on that?
If I had to guess, I would guess it was probably the 4 or 5 minute mark.
Okay.
Was Herb Dean the ref?
But I will say this, and this always makes me feel better whenever I lose, even though nothing really makes me feel better when I lose other than if I had actually won. But a lot of people came up to me and said that was an awesome match because it was an exciting match.
That is the beauty.
Tough.
That is the beauty of
right.
That puts so much faith for me in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
When someone that is winning is absolutely dominating the fight and makes one mistake.
Right. And we both obviously good sportsmanship. He was like, "Thank you for a great fight." Obviously all that good stuff. He seemed like a great dude. And
that's another thing.
And I felt like I learned something. Hopefully, I worked on my footlocks the Monday I got back to training. I'm gonna keep working on my footlocks. I feel like I'm comfortable in a lot of the basic footlocks. I feel like footlocks at the black belt level have gotten so advanced that nobody goes for the straight locks anymore. Nobody goes for the typical locks anymore. They're all kind of tricky, kind of advanced, kind of in a weird angle, and it's not something that you typically see at any of the other levels. It's just jiu-jitsu is evolving, and it involves a lot more foot attacks.
The cool thing about it, and we were texting each other after, and I was trying to kind of allude to that, is that, hey, you were at a fucking legit tournament, and you were up against the fucking adult black belt level. You were winning 10-2. That's fucking phenomenal.
Right.
You know what I mean? 10-2, most times you don't get caught, which is what happened. You know, you got caught, whether it was a technical mistake or you felt too comfortable in a mistake.
The one error that I will say is that, and I'm conflicted right now about what the answer is to certain footlocks. I've lately felt like I enjoy or not enjoy or feel like I have the most success defending footlocks, controlling the inside leg and preventing the knees from pinching. But also another thing that people like to do is control the wrists and the hands and stand up with it. And I feel like I was doing a mix of both. And the one error that I did make that I believe maybe would have swayed the match in my favor and allowed me to maybe pass again or mount again was there was a period of time where I was controlling the leg, and I feel like he had hit kind of a wall as far as his footlock attacks go. Because if you can't use that inside leg to extend and to finish the lock, then there's no leverage on the lock. So it's kind of like you're wasting your energy. And I felt like I'd kind of frustrated him for a split second there, and then if I would have just stood up and started working from there, I would have been fine. But I didn't stand up, and that's where he was able to regain the leverage and the position to do something. So I made an error in not standing up and capitalizing when I had control of his hands after I had kind of nullified his hips as far as preventing them from being where they needed to be.
Yeah, so, and Matt shows the controlling the lapel, you know,
and the wrist. So Matt's really big on controlling the hands.
You're right. Yeah. Controlling the wrist. That's what Matt shows. I actually prefer controlling the lapel so they can extend out and trying to stand out.
And this is my issue with both of them is that, and not my issue, but this is what I'll say is that one of the frustrations I have sometimes is I don't like to do something where I'm fighting muscle for muscle, and if we're hands over hands, it's who's stronger sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like killing the hip and preventing the hip from being in the position that it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you recognize. Okay.
But there's a time and a place for both, I think.
Okay,
Yeah. I think obviously. I mean, there's a time that I've used controlling the wrist, like getting a grip on the gi at the wrist, and then there's times where I'm fucking typically, especially in class, I'm stronger than most people I roll with.
But and my issue is when you're not stronger than that
No,
person.
and I
And
100%.
yeah.
So
And I've rolled with people that I'm not stronger than as well.
all techniques aside, let's think about this for 1 minute, especially when you're competing. It is a show. You, as competitors, are putting on a show. Okay? I have went into fights. We call them fights in jiu-jitsu. I have went into fights, and basically, after I'm done, I have lost. And people smile at me. They did not care who won or lost that fight. They come up to me and they shake my hand, and they tell me, they say, that was awesome.
That makes you feel a little bit better. I'll say that.
Yeah. Jeremy's being modest right now. He hardly ever loses.
But I'm saying when I lose, people have come up to me and shook my hand and said, that was great. Even though I am so pissed off that I fucking lost. I hate fucking losing.
But that's competitiveness, though.
But
you can't.
but what I'm saying
That's
is,
because you're a pussy.
But you gotta, yeah, I'm a huge pussy. But what I'm saying is, it's about you, and it's so crazy
Jason's a
because
pussy too, though.
because competitors lose sight of that though. Because when I'm up in the stands, unless Keenan Cornelius is fighting, I don't give a fuck, or Matt Baker, of course, but I don't give a fuck who's gonna win or lose.
What about Jason?
Jason, I hope he wins.
Any of our
I know
teammates-
he's gonna win. Actually,
any of our
but what I'm
teammates-
saying is, it's all about the show. It's the show that you're putting on. It's a demonstration, is what it is. So just remember that whenever you're competing,
Yeah.
because you're actually putting on a show, and you want to make a spectacular situation for other people to see.
I think Matt says it best. You guys know I'm not a competitive person. I'm not a competitor. I have respect for all the people that compete consistently. When I do compete, it's like I'm rolling. It's like I'm rolling in class, Like I don't get that adrenaline rush. I don't get any of that. But what I will say is that one of the good things, the dynamic change in our gym about Matt saying, hey, just go out there and have fun. Go out there and show people what you can do. Show people what
It's
you
about
know.
the show.
But
Show people what you can do.
but it wasn't always like that in our gym, though.
And there's something I have to say too. See, and this is the thing too is, I think there are some moves that will definitely be flashier, that are definitely more entertaining, but I
won't
also
win.
think won't win the match.
I agree.
And I think that there is.
And I understand what I'm not trying to cut you off right now,
Right,
Jason, but I will say that Jeremy, Jeremy wins. I would say probably 90% of the time that he competes,
right.
at least, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
But Jeremy, he doesn't have the most flashy
Well,
game.
this is what it is.
Jer-
He's white toast.
Jeremy's he's a technician. Like
He's
he goes in, he implements a game
sourdough,
plan.
maybe.
yeah.
Jeremy's not
Sourdough,
flashy.
too.
Jeremy's
But
not doing
sometimes
like
you'll
Barry
see something
Love.
flashy.
I love
Jeremy's
that
not doing Barry
The
Love.
flashiest thing this guy does is a fireman's carry, and everyone's like, "Ooh,
I've seen Jeremy do some arm bars back when he was a blue belt.
If people are talking,
I was there.
if Jeremy is
Magic.
if people are talking to Jeremy about, hey, that was awesome, it's because they realize the technique that he is implementing, because you're not going to see all this crazy action and all
Movement.
But I
all
think
this
for a
movement.
lot of people,
He's a
that's what wins
controller.
fights. I think for a lot of people, that's what wins fights. And I think, too, that a lot of it has to do with weight divisions.
Yeah.
He's a heavier guy.
So he's going to go against people that want to.
No.
You want to control them. You want to. You want to limit movement.
Absolutely. No, and I agree with that. But what I'm getting at, too, is that the bigger guys, we just don't do some of the things the smaller guys do.
No, you
The
ain't gonna
smaller
see
guys
Dragon
do
Ball.
that because
They can.
because they don't get crushed by these smaller guys. Because
Fucking Ian.
exactly, Ian does stuff that
Again.
I would
Fucking
never
Ian.
do.
Fucking.
Where the problem arises when
But I
you
love
have,
you, Ian.
is when you have bigger guys
have enough
doing
mics
things.
to
that-
I
go.
don't.
on.
I don't like Ian.
Well,
At all.
I like Ian,
But I'm gonna hang out with him in a little bit.
But the thing, what I was trying to get at was that the issue arises when you have bigger guys trying to do a smaller guy's game, and they're losing because they're trying to do a smaller guy's
They're
game.
trying to open up too much.
Exactly. It's
Yes.
not the same. And I've been learning that lately too. And not that I have a small guy game, but I've noticed that there are certain things that I've learned from smaller people that taught me that I'm like, that just doesn't work for me. And then I look at some of the bigger guys that do very well, and I'm like, he does it this way, and it works better for me to do it that way. And people that I use just as an example is I look at Shanji, or I look at Bernardo Faria, or I look at some of those guys, and I'm like, you know what?
It's all pressure, man.
It's all stuff that fits with and I have a body type that fits somewhere in between those two guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and there are things that the smaller guys that were my instructors, mainly Crone, that do that for me, it just doesn't seem to, I can do things similar, or I can do things that are just the same idea, but not
not
the
as much
exact
movement.
right,
Not as
and
much
just not
movement.
and not the exact same way. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think that's just jiu-jitsu. You're just figuring out what works for you,
And that's actually, so we're gonna end on this note. We're gonna end on the note of jiu-jitsu can be adaptable for anyone. And if you were to look at this table right now, you would see maybe two guys that are close to the same size, a guy that's way smaller, and then a pretty big guy that if you saw them,
Thank you very much.
American.
yeah, if you saw them on the street, you probably would think, oh, they have no physical ability, they can't
Normal.
move, they can't move that much, blah blah blah, whatever, right? But that's the good thing about jiu-jitsu is like you see such a wide array of shapes and sizes, and you really tailor your game to your size. Like I'm not the same size as Matt, I'm not the same size as Jason, Jeremy. There's really no one in the gym that's the same size as me that I can adapt my game to, so I have to kind of make it up. I adjust movements and everything, and I think Frank and Jeremy and Jason, they all do the same thing. Ian, they pick out what works for them, and that's a great thing about jiu-jitsu. So, it's been a fucking fun episode. We've talked about a lot.
Great episode. Actually.
Boom shakalaka.
There's a lot of
We can move.
Content.
stockpiled footage that we're going to use from this one, probably.
For show.
Yeah, and we've definitely talked about a lot of things. So, thank you all for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely continue to give us feedback, even if you're our friends. It won't hurt our feelings. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Have a great Friday night. This is the close of the Sweet Podcast episode 2. Thanks a lot, guys.
See ya.
Deuces.